Democrats, leftists, and liberal sects of scum. Welcome to the Snake Pit with your host, Smitty.
Hey folks, Smitty here. Welcome back to the Snake Pit. The end of another week. Interesting week, busy week. A lot of information. Wow, a lot of news is breaking. But I came across something that I read this morning from Paul Craig Roberts, and it just pretty much summed up, excuse me, everything that I kind of feel, and I thought I'd share it with you. And it's entitled "America is No Longer a Nation." Again, by Paul Craig Roberts. The America in which I grew up and lived my adult life was a nation. Over the course of my life, I have watched my country turn into a Tower of Babel. Homogeneity and shared values permitted us to understand one another. Isn't that true? So critical to any country, any nation that wants to stay cohesive. This doesn't mean that there was uniformity, excuse me, or that things were perfect. A Baptist wasn't a Catholic. A WASP was not a black laborer. And for those of you youngsters out there, a WASP stands for White Anglo-Saxon Protestant. A female was not a male. Unfortunately, we can't tell the difference today. Blacks and poor whites had a hard time becoming middle class, but it could be done. And one of the things that made this country great, and still makes this country great, is it still can be done. It was possible for middle class people to become well off, but difficult to become rich. But again, it could be done. Immigration was controlled, and the reduction of inflows had helped the Irish and Italians integrate into society. That is so key, folks, because one of the big things we see today is the melting pot's gone, the mosaic is here. And we've got little bastions of groups here and there, blotted all over the country, all 50 states. They're not interested in integrating. They want to live in America. They want to enjoy America's constitutional freedoms, our economy. They want to enjoy all the benefits America has to offer. But they really don't want to be Americans. They wave the flags of the countries they came from. You see the Mexican flag, the Costa Rican flag, the Honduran flag, the Salvadoran flag, the Chinese flag, even the Russian flag in some cases. And it just blows my mind. It just blows my mind. If you came to America, wouldn't you want to be an American? Wouldn't you want to be part of what it means to be an American? But they don't, because they don't want to integrate, they don't want to assimilate, and that's a major, major, major problem. That's why from, I believe, 1924 until the 60s, we totally stopped immigration, just shut it right off to let all the people who were here assimilate. Police were helpful and didn't burst into homes with guns blazing or rough you up at traffic stops. On important issues, compromises could be reached and reforms were implemented. English was the language. If you telephoned a service provider, utility, or bank, you quickly were connected to a real person capable of handling every aspect of what you were calling about. How many of you have gotten on a phone call and it's customer service, or it's a helpline, or a service desk, or a computer service desk? They're the worst. And the first thing you'll hear is, "Your call is important to us. Please remain on the line, and our next available person will take care of you." And you're there, and you're there, and the message repeats, and you're there. And I was like, if my call was so important to you, I wouldn't be sitting here for 15 minutes, then 20 minutes, then a half hour. And then the ultimate best happened to me just a few weeks ago. Someone comes on from another country, and you cannot understand a word they say, except at the very beginning. You piece it together in your head, and you hear in some language you're not familiar with, "Can I help you?" After I waited on the phone for almost 40 minutes, I set the phone down and put it on speaker because you sit there holding the phone. After I waited almost 40 minutes, I got the "Can I help you?" And as soon as I realized I could not understand this person, I said, "No, you can't." And I hung up. Ended up solving the problem myself and educated myself in the process, so it actually worked out better. But no, you can't help me. If I can't understand you and you can't understand me, how the hell can you help me? Today, you wait through the Spanish language option for the robo voice, listening to the options that might have something to do with the reason for your call. The companies save money and make profits by imposing their service costs on customers. And it's true. It's true. Customer service, my wife and I joke about this because for many years, my wife worked in direct sales with customers. And I actually, at two different positions, was customer service director, customer service manager. And customer service is dead. Dead. Yeah, there are a lot of places where you go in now and they almost make you feel like they're doing you a service by letting you shop in their store, or they're doing you a service by taking your money. But it's far from customer service. Technology seems to have worsened the functionality of society. Isn't that the truth? Diversity and multiculturalism definitely have. And I talked about this in another video. Even the British now are finally realizing multiculturalism doesn't work. And diversity is not a strength, it's a weakness. Of course, any 8-year-old kid with any common sense could tell you that multiculturalism wouldn't work and diversity is a weakness, not a strength. We'll talk more about both of those in a future video. It used to be that taking or giving offense was something that good manners prevented. Today, members of those groups that are entitled to be offended are ready to take offense at any excuse. You know the type, we've all met them, the social justice warriors. I swear to God, these assholes wake up in the morning. Before they decide what they're going to have for breakfast, they decide, how can I be offended today? What's going to offend me? Will it be a person, a commercial, a company, an ad? Something or somebody's going to offend me today. And I got to figure out what it is. I swear, they just look to be offended. It's like they just go through life so permanently sensitized as to believe that everything in the world is aimed at them and the purpose of the world is just to offend them. Snowflakes. Unfucking believable. Where was I? Today it's easy for a white person and a male to give offense without intending or even knowing what he did or said was offensive. Microaggressions. My wife's niece informed me about microaggressions right after President Trump was elected. And I haven't spoken to her since because apparently I am a microaggressor. Didn't even know it. Didn't even know what it was, but I'm a microaggressor. And after it was explained to me, you know what? I don't give a shit. I really don't. I'm tired of it. You don't like what somebody's saying? Change the channel. You don't like what you're reading? Close it or turn the page. You don't like what you're seeing? Close your eyes and walk away. But stop taking offense at every damn thing in society. It's ridiculous already. It's tedious already. Diversity and multiculturalism provide a fertile field for identity politics. Identity politics has succeeded in turning everything into racism. Everything white, that is. Indeed, the very word white is now a code word for racist. Western civilization and science itself are explained as mechanisms of white domination. The other day, a black female college professor declared, "Time to be white." She explained that a tendency on the part of blacks to be late was due to the fact that time was just another white racist construct. I saw this on the news and I couldn't believe it. Time itself is racist. And the act of being on time or being early is a racist white construct. Are you fucking kidding me? Time was white because it made blacks late. So it wasn't the black who got up too late or stayed up too late the night before or whatever, got stuck in traffic, took the wrong bus, the wrong train, and ended up late for work or late for school or whatever. It was the white Caucasian racist fault because they made time. We made time? Wow. Ocasio-Cortez. Ocasio-Cortez. Wow, it's got a ring to it. Woo! Fresh face, baby. One of the freshest faces in Congress, and one of the biggest piles of steaming dog shit. She said last week she's all for identity politics. She thinks it's great. She thinks it has a big role to play, and she's all for it. She loves identity politics. Now, for years, Democrats had said that Republicans use identity politics, which they don't. You know, it's that transference thing. You know, Hillary Clinton was colluding with the Russians, so she threw it on Trump and said, no, you're colluding with the Russians. You know, they're using identity politics, so they say, no, you Republicans are. But now they're taking ownership of it. Now they like it, and they want you to know they like it. Ocasio-Cortez likes it. Rashida Tlaib likes it. Ilhan Omar likes it. They like it because it breaks everybody up into little tiny groups. Little tiny groups that are easy to manage and easy to pit against one another. So there's constant turmoil, constant fighting, and constantly people being offended because everybody's in their own little hyphenated group. According to identity politics, white people are in charge, but the evidence is to the contrary. There are no quotas for whites in university admissions, hiring, or promotions. It is the allegedly victimized preferred minorities who get to go to the front of the line. There are no hate speech or hate crime protections for whites. Whites can be called very hurtful and offensive names, every name in the book, and have no right or power to demand apologies or the firing of the offender. Although I actually did get somebody fired from their job for calling me too white in front of a class when I was teaching, and she deserved it. She was a social justice warrior. Another teacher came to my classroom one day, knocked on the door, and asked me for something, and she saw that I was teaching current events, and she said, I can't believe that you're teaching that topic. And I don't even remember what it was so long ago. Maybe like 1998, 1999. In any case, you know, I said, look, it's current events. It's important. The kids need to know about it. And she said, you know what your problem is? You're just too damn white. And I had a class at the time that was probably about 60% black, 10% Latino, and, you know, the other 30% was white. And the kids didn't know what to say. Some laughed, some gasped in horror, some just were silent. I ended up getting her fired. And she deserved it. So if if it happens to you, fight it. And this was, just at the time was when, people were starting to carry cell phones and things. And a couple of the kids had recorded it on their cell phones. Fight it. Even if you're white, you know what? It's not a crime to be white. At least not yet, unless you're in South Africa. There it is. But in America, it's still not a crime to be white. And if something like that happens to you, fight it. Fight it. You have the right to fight it because you're an American too. White DNA has been declared to be an abomination, and white people shouldn't exist. In America today, the way to get ahead is to claim victimhood. Yeah, everybody's a victim. Everybody's offended, and everybody's a victim, except whites. Jews are the experts at this. Blacks, women, and illegal immigrants have learned the same trick. University education explains white people as the source of all evil in the world. Amazing, My son is 16, and we're talking about he's actually going to change high schools, and we're talking about once he changes high school and once he finishes that up, what his plans are for his secondary education, and whether it's going to be a community college-based education and then maybe a transfer to a technical college or technical university or what. And I just, I went to liberal arts college. My wife went to State University. I don't know if I'd want my son to step foot in one of these places because he is very, very conservative. He's libertarian, but he is conservative. I'm worried they were going to twist and warp his mind, or he'd end up punching somebody out. It's bad. It's really bad. University education explains white as a source of all evil in the world. This is especially the case in what is called black studies and in gender studies, which seems to have developed out of women's studies or feminist studies. I took a course back in the late 80s in college when I was there, and instead of called history, it was called her story. And I think that was probably when this bullshit got started, late 80s, early 90s, and it just snowballed from there. The Bullwinkle effect. A white male professor who gives a low grade to a female or a black can expect that some charge might be made against him. But a white male who receives a low grade from a black or feminist professor, no such recourse. You're fucked. Take it and move on. So, what's the answer? If you're a white male student in college or university, back in the day when I was in school, we knew who the professors were who were teaching the classes, and a lot of times, there'd be 4 sections of a particular class. We take it based on who the professor was because they knew their reputation. So I guess this is more of what the left wants in America. They want whites maybe to go with white professors, blacks to go with black professors, because they do love the identity politics. And I talked about in one of my other videos, the left and the Democrats right now love segregation. They are massively, massively pro-segregation. Martin Luther King, all the black civil rights leaders in the United States fought against segregation. That was the biggest thing. They wanted to be equal, and not separate but equal. They wanted to be equal. They wanted equal rights, but they wanted desegregation. They wanted to be allowed to go the same place as whites could. No more blacks only or coloreds only. Here we are with these mental morons in 2019, and they want all black dorms, all black student centers, all black safe spaces, all black common areas on campus. Really? But it's not racist. Are you kidding me? What the fuck is it then? As whites still constitute a majority of the U.S. population, what consequences are there for the society when it is a majority that is constantly demeaned? What does it mean when white males, still the backbone of the military, are easily cowed than women and preferred minorities? When whites become the minority, what is their fate when the new majority has been taught hatred of whites for decades? I mean, face the facts, folks. We got kids in elementary school right now, blacks, Hispanics, whatever. We're teaching them to hate whites. That's what the government schools, left-wing professors are indoctrinating into these little kids' minds. Hate whites. Hatred of white people. It's happening. You can deny it. You can say, oh, yeah, please, sure, Smitty. It's happening. It's happening. Get on YouTube and look at some of the demonstrations. Look at what's going on in the college campuses in this country. I am appalled. To be perfectly honest with you, I can't fucking believe some of the stuff I see. I can't believe it. And forget about free speech. That's gone. The left in this country is totally pro-First Amendment, as long as you agree with them. If you have a dissenting opinion, you got to go. We'll either shut you up, or we'll drive you out, or we'll shut you down, or we'll beat you up, as we saw on a college campus a couple weeks ago. What does it mean when Americans fall over themselves to apologize for using some word or term that someone finds offensive? when it never occurs to Americans to apologize to Libyans, Iraqis, Syrians, Afghanis, Yemenis, Somalis for destroying the lives of hundreds of thousands of them. What does it mean? The disconnect here is extreme, and it is. Words hurt, but not bombs. Moreover, I can remember when words, now said to be offensive, gave no offense to anyone. I don't know if I can say this or not, but I'm going to say it anyway. We had some major flooding here in our area a couple of years ago, really bad flooding. And just north of us is a small pond. There are a lot of small farm fishing ponds in the area. And one of them was called Nigger Pond. And if you looked at it on the map, it said Nigger Pond. No one ever thought to change it to Negro Pond or Black Pond. Still, you can get it today. It's called Nigger Pond. Where did we go in this country? And how did we get to the point where if you say a word, you have to say, shh, he said the N-word. The N-word. The Constitution and the First Amendment don't recognize hate speech. There's no such thing as hate speech. In fact, the Constitution goes out of its way specifically to protect the most vile, disgusting, despicable speech there is. Because everybody agrees with normal speech, but they don't agree with nasty speech, evil speech, horrific speech, disgusting speech, profane speech. That's the very purpose of the First Amendment. So that you can express yourself. And if those 10 people don't like what you say, too bad. As long as you're not injuring them, they can walk away. They don't have to listen to what you say. Words that, we say all the time, like fag. We used to smoke. Say fag. Oh, you're homophobic. Really? There are a lot of other words. I'm probably going to take this video down anyway because I dared say a word using it as a comparison, but because anybody who knows me knows I'm not racist. What has happened is that people have been taught to regard words as offensive. How did the word girls become offensive? When I was a senior business analyst at my last job, I walked in every morning, and I would see, we had several receptionists in an area in the front of the building, huge building, and I say, "Good morning, girls," and they'd all say good morning, and I just keep walking by with my briefcase, and I got called into human resources. What did you say to them? What did I say to whom? The receptionist in the front reception area. I said the same thing that I've been saying for all the years I've been here. And what's that? Good morning, girls. How you doing? Well, we've gotten reports that you're being misogynistic, and we can't have that. That's very degrading and demeaning. I actually got a write-up. I refused to sign it, but I got it written up for calling them girls. To this day, I don't know which one of them ever decided that for 4 years that was okay, and then just one day it was no longer okay. That's what you deal with. And of course, being a white male, I was automatically guilty before I even walked in the human resources door. Human resources is another thing. I mean, human resources used to be about getting help with your benefits and time off and vacation and things like that. Human resources now may as well just be the executioner, because most people, when they go in there, they either come out with a write-up or they come out and they're not employed anymore. Human resources is a joke. Identity politics finds more offensive words every single day, and I mentioned it earlier. These social justice warrior whack jobs on the left, they wake up in the morning and it's like they start immediately looking for the first way they can be offended, because somebody somewhere is going to offend them today. Before long, a white person will not even be able to open their mouth. Language itself is being made totally dysfunctional. That's true. I've said this many times. Pretty soon we won't be able to communicate at all because you won't know what you can or cannot say, especially with this insane concept of microaggressions. If the means of communication is dysfunctional, how can a society be functional? I guess this is more and more why so many of the kids just sit on their computers or their phones and text. They have no social skills. They don't talk face to face. Their interpersonal relationships are horrible. All they do is text, 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 text. Identity politics has produced disunity, and disunity is the antithesis of nationhood. All you got to do is look at what happened in Yugoslavia. All you got to do is look at what happened in the Soviet Union. There are, in the United States, many groups that specialize in teaching hatred of whites by pretending to fight white supremacy. A new one on the scene is the Center for Jewish Civilization at Georgetown University. Georgetown is or was a Catholic university. Almost went there. One might expect a Center for Catholic Civilization, or as Georgetown is located in America, a Center for American Civilization, but no, it is a Center for Jewish Civilization. Who finances it? Why is it focused on the far right? Why is it at Georgetown University? On April 10th, the Center for Jewish Civilization at Georgetown is hosting an all-day propaganda session at the National Press Club to work up opposition to white Gentiles who are allegedly using Nazi techniques to attack Jews and blacks. In other words, the Center for Jewish Civilization is doing precisely to white Gentiles what the center claims white anti-Semites are doing to Jews and blacks. You know, we're going to do this again. Are we going to go through pogroms now against whites? Are we going to have Kristallnacht against whites? I mean, I don't understand the insanity that's going on right now. It's very hard for somebody my age, 53, to wrap their heads around this. It's insanity, especially a conservative. I just, it's like people have just lost their minds. There's no rules, there's no rhyme, there's no reason. The conference is focused on how do we deal with a new ecosystem of hate and anti-Semitism on the far right. And I don't even know where this is coming from, because the left is clearly anti-Semitic. You could see that from Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez and Ilhan Omar. I mean, Omar, every week she's got some new anti-Jewish slur. Nothing happens to her. Republicans, they say something wrong, they're gone. Off committees, gone out of Congress, finished. This Omar, every week she's got a new anti-Jewish slur. But they're worried about going after the far right. I think they got the wrong target. We all know what the far right is. White people, which as a group are being recast as white supremacists. Really? Far right is not a term ever applied to blacks or other races. Only whites. Excuse me. Try to imagine a Center for Palestinian Civilization at Georgetown that was hosting a National Press Club all-day event to combat an ecosystem of hate and anti-Palestinianism in Israel. The center would immediately be lumped in with the alt-right and accused of promoting hate and anti-Semitism. Unbelievable. Or suppose U.S. Foreign Service veterans formed a center for American foreign policy and criticized Israel's control over American foreign policy, revealed in Netanyahu's boast that his request Trump named Iran's Revolutionary Guard a large chunk of the Iranian government as a terrorist group. Immediately, the center would be accused of anti-Semitic tropes. How is a country a nation when it cannot have its own foreign policy, when the words of language are prescribed, when alleged victim groups have more rights than the alleged dominant class, and when hate is used to create disunity? You have to ask the left all these questions. When I look at some of the things they're talking about now, like reparations, What do they think the response to that is going to be by whites? Just wondering. I've never had a slave, never held a slave, never seen a slave. In fact, my great-great-great-grandfather was killed on the second day of Gettysburg, fighting for the Union Army in the Pennsylvania Cavalry. So do I get like a discount on how much reparations I have to pay, or do I get off without paying any? Well, no, I'm white, so I'd have to pay some, because no matter what, I'm still evil. Even though my great-great-great-grandfather died at Gettysburg, I have his sword here, actually. What do they think is going to happen? All these groups want to hate whites. And like it or not, whites founded the United States, created the United States, of our founding documents. Yes, at the time there were slaves, and a lot of our founders held slaves, but slavery was an institution all over the world. It was nothing unusual. What amazes me is when I see these far-left wackos who are no better than the fucking Taliban ripping down statues and destroying pieces of American history. Just like what the Taliban did in Afghanistan and in Iraq. Destroying history, destroying statues because it didn't conform to their beliefs. The left in America is no better than the Taliban. No better at all. We got some real problems in this country. Don't know what's going to happen. I see a lot of deep-seated things kind of bubbling and boiling. And if you get on YouTube and you look at some of the thinkers on YouTube, and you look at some of the articles they go over and some of the things they talk about, things are not well in this country. On the surface, it seems average, seems ordinary. You get a blip here and there, but things below the surface are not good. And I really could see us going to a civil war. I really could see it. A second civil war. I don't know what that would look like, but I know it would be really violent and really nasty. Until then, everything here in the snake pit is A-okay. Thank you guys for tuning in. And this is Smitty signing off. Catch you next time.